Hello. Scout's Mouse is first. That was cute. I saw that. So I was like, what, a minute late? So, excuse me. I was ready to hit live, and one of my little dogs did not want to go chill out. I had to get up and go make her lay down somewhere, or she was going to jump on me. So, you know, it's all the little things that get in the way. So I've been reading through the chapter we're supposed to study. Hi. Oh, it's hurting my brain. It's really hurting my brain. Hey, DJ from Sweden. What time is it in Sweden right now? Um, I don't know what. I only know the time difference, or I used to, between Korea and here. That's the farthest my husband has been. Oh, London. Man, I'm international today. Sweden and London. All right. 10 p.m. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I did a late stream last night, and it was only supposed to. Every time I come on here, I'm like, I'm just going to do an hour. 3 hours later, for me, it was 1 o'clock in the morning and 9. Yeah, I know it's usually late evening in the UK only because I know Steph the alternator. I don't know if you know her or not. Scooter Mom, what's up, Jinx? That's cool. I literally took ibuprofen this time, right before I started, because I was trying desperately, because it's a long chapter. I was trying desperately to cut things out, and I could. If you see this, that means I have to read the whole thing. I can't just take a sentence or two because he gets so involved in describing things. Now, that's where I can usually cut things out, is his stupid extra descriptions that he goes into. He has to describe everything on the level of a 5-year-old. Hi, Cricket. Good to see you. Yeah, I didn't have a lot. I usually can. There is no bypass to his dribble sometimes. I know. And the fact that this is still going on about the engrams and the reactive mind, that's a big deal in Scientology, as far as I can tell from what I've heard. So I want to make sure that we're reading enough to understand what he was trying to say, so that we can be like, yeah, this was bullshit. Because it is. And so, like, there'll be a time I want to go, I don't want to read something, and he'll say something like, and this is scientific fact. And I have to leave that in, because we have to hear what he thinks is, this is scientific fact. We have done this in the laboratory. We have studied this. I don't know how many times he says that. I don't either. He was a science fiction writer. He just wrote it to sound good, to sound like, that's what I'm getting out of this. He wrote it to sound good. He wrote it to sound smart. He wrote it to say, you're all messed up and I can fix it. And he explains it in ways that it makes it sound just convoluted enough that a normal person is like, well, he said he can fix me, but I don't understand this. Maybe he'll tell me more. Our weekly dose of word salad. Yes, yes. Hi, other side. Oh, goodness. 9 people today. That's awesome. So I hadn't quite finished. If I could have cut things out, I was only 3 pages from, not even 3 pages from the end. I watched a clip with Doug, and he pointed out some techniques LRH uses to hypnotize people and confuse them. That's in here. That's why I left so much in, because he doesn't talk about it being hypnotism, but if it's been being used in Scientology, it sounds like hypnotism, and that's why I left so much of this in, because this chapter's called the I can't read the book with these glasses. I can only see that. The cell and the organism. A lighter would be more effective than that pen. I hope you worked. I had to word clear, Scouse Mouse. I had to word clear because he kept talking about the analyzer. I couldn't remember what he meant by the analyzer. So I went back to the index and it said pages 61 to 68. So I had to go through those pages and find out what the analyzer was again. And all it was is another word for the analytical mind, which is your mind. Because the reactive mind is our subconscious, so the analytical mind is the rest. So that's what the analyzer is. A normal person would just say, so it goes through your brain instead of analyzer. So just keep that in mind, because he says analyzer quite a few times. So because this is long, I'm going to jump right in, because I tried cutting things out. I think this was the only, nope, I didn't. So out of all of this, I was able to cut out this one little paragraph that was silly. Because if the problem was, if I cut too much out, it was, you couldn't understand what came next because of his weirdness. Oh, I was able to cut out this whole section. My goodness. All right, let's get into this. What? He was fixated with much analytics. Oh, yeah, I get it. Scooter Mom. Okay. Well, okay, so if you haven't heard any of the what came before, just remember the analytical mind is our mind. The reactive mind is the subconscious. The analyzer is also our brain, our mind. And what was the other thing? So if you have, ask any questions. If you don't understand something, I'll try to recall it from, because he goes off a few things that he obviously has already talked about. He should just have done a pop-up book. That would have made more sense. Well, I mean, he likes his diagrams, remember? He talks about one of the diagrams back here, but I don't even remember which one. Yeah, I need to focus. But if you have a question, I kind of will see it move in the corner of my mind. So I'll try to check back. All right. Got to change. This is computer glasses. And whoops, they fell off. Oh, and I got my Thetan with me. He's laying right here. Maybe he'll keep the other Thetans away. Okay. Alrighty, let's get into this. So we're reading the Dianetics, and Cricket, I got a book published in 91. It was written in 54, and David Miscavige reissued it with changes in 2007. So I wanted the L. Ron Hubbard edition. All right. The Cell and the Organism. Oh, I'm already got dry mouth. Haven't even started reading yet. Sorry. I have to remember to get that biotin. It's awesome for that. It's because I took my meds. The reason the engram. Oh, and anybody, we had just done the chapter reactive mind and about engrams, but I think he explains enough. He explains things so minutely that you'll understand an engram if you've never read the first part of the book. The reason the engrams so long remain hidden as the single source of aberration and psychosomatic ills is the wide and almost infinite complex manifestations which can derive from simple engrams. Several theories could be postulated. By the way, he likes that word a lot. Yeah, I've played games like that before. We could do postulate. That's analyzer. He says postulate a lot. And I'm not even, I mean, I know what it means, but the way he uses it is weird. All right. Several theories could be postulated as to why the human mind evolved exactly as it did. But these are theories, and Dianetics is not concerned with structure. There is a definite connection between any electric-like energy in the body and the energy effusion of cells undergoing injury. Effusion means a pouring forth. Like pouring out. Okay. And the energy effusion of cells undergoing injury. A theory could be constructed along the lines that injured cells, further injuring their neighbors by a discharge of electric-like energy, force the development of a special cell which would act as a conduit to bleed off this painful charge. The conduits of cells might have become neurons, and the charge might have been better distributed so through the body with it less likelihood of local incapacitation at the point of the injury impact. These conduits, neurons, might have been started in formation by impacts at the extremity of the body toward the direction of locomotion. So he's trying to change big assumptions, very big assumptions. He does that a lot. And he's also trying to change the definition of a neuron. I mean, rename it. He's calling it conduits or neurons. Like, that's not as important. So he even tries to change the things that are scientific. Okay. This would make the skull the greatest mass of neurons. You think? Man walking upright might have had another new point of impact, the forehead, and so gained his prefrontal lobes. And maybe not. This is just theory with only a few data to support it, which have a scientific value. So he's saying injury caused our neurons in our frontal lobe. All right. The cell is one of the basic building blocks of the body. Everybody knows that. Learned that in school. Cells, the better to survive, seem to have become colonies, which in turn had the primary interest survival. He talks about that earlier in the book. And the colonies developed or recruited into aggregations, which in turn were organisms, also with the sole purpose of survival. And the organisms developed minds to coordinate the muscles. Yeah, Scooter Mom, that's why I'm reading this. I want to see why. I want to know why. Why was this so successful? Oh, I know, Dusty. I slept super late. Super late. All right. So, okay. What is it? Even if it was the track of reasoning which led toward Dianetics, it can be completely wrong. It works. I underlined that. So he's saying that even if the track of reasoning which led to Dianetics could be completely wrong, it works. He says that in a couple different ways, like, oh, if this is Dianetics is still right, even if scientific. Yeah, I know. He's taking like normal. He did that all through the book. He's breaking down things we already know about our mind and making it, giving it specific names and adding to it. Girlfriend, you need to go. You just shook the whole thing. Go over there, lay down. Go. She looks so nice. Okay. All right. So let's get back to that. It works. It can be pulled away from Dianetics, and Dianetics will remain a science and go on working. The concept of the electronic brain was not vital, but only useful to Dianetics. Yet, he talks about it for a whole chapter. As Dianetics stands, in Dianetics, we have our wedge into an enormous scope of research. It's always the research, always scientific. He didn't do any of that. As Dianetics stands, it works, and it works every time and without exception. What works? Because what he explains in here so far doesn't make any sense. Yeah, exactly, Scout's Mouse. Even if what I am saying is complete nonsense, Dianetics still works. That is exactly what he said. That is part of the spiel. Mixed truths and fantasies. Yep. So you had to be a science fiction writer to do this. I mean, you had to think in total fantasy to get this on paper. Why we talk about cells will become apparent as we progress. Function always comes before structure. Okay, I completely disagree with this, because he was saying that the human body didn't have a frontal lobe until it was injured. Neurons and until the cells injured each other. If I got that right, I probably didn't. So he's saying that function comes before structure. I don't understand that. DJ. I mean, function comes before structure. I don't understand that. I don't understand what he's trying to say. The astounding lack of progress in the field of the human mind during the past 1,000 years is partly attributable to its organ of thought. And the rest of that paragraph makes no sense, so I'm going to move on. Something like that, DJ. Abusing the laws of thermodynamics. He's abusing something. What the capabilities of the cell are, for instance, have been but poorly studied. Maybe in 1954. But now we know a whole lot more. So it trips me out that they're trying to re-release this book. And David, oh yeah, that's how I feel, Scooter Mom. Because if somebody were to read this now, they would be like, we are laughing our butts off at what he's trying to say. Now in 1954, 1960, 70, I can see that, we didn't know everything about DNA and cells that we know now. So he's getting away with saying a lot of stuff because it hadn't been maybe scientifically studied as much. But now this is all debunked. So, some work has been carried on in recent years to find out more, but basic philosophy was absent. The cell was being observed, not predicted. Okay. In Dianetics, on the level of laboratory observation. There it is again. So was he a cellular scientist as well as a nuclear scientist and a military hero? Absolutely, Scout's Mouse. Absolutely. And a medical doctor in there too. Well, that would mean that he was actually reading about science. So maybe he just skimmed through to steal from it. All right. So I had to underline that sentence. In Dianetics, on the level of laboratory observation, we discover, much to our astonishment, that cells are evidently sentient in some currently inexplicable way. So he's going to go on to talk about cells Each cell is sentient. He used them as a buffet for his word salad. Now, I mean, we know that cells have an instinct and a job, but I wouldn't call them sentient. That's a big stretch too. It is inevitable that data will turn up which does not agree with past theory. You think? When that data is as scientific as the observation that when an apple is dropped under usual conditions on Earth, it falls, one cannot help but accept it. Abandoning past theories may do damage to treasured beliefs and one's nostalgic love of the old school tie, but a fact is a fact. So he's saying that his fact is going to be opposite of scientific theories that they already have. Yes. Scout's Mouse, I totally agree. His laboratory was his bedroom and on drugs. Cells have more of a programming in the RNA and DNA. Yeah, they have a programming. I touched a stethoscope once, so if anyone needs surgery, just let me know. Exactly, Cricket. And we know, so somebody was asking in one of my lives why he hated psychiatry. Because I believe either, I can't remember if it was during his time in the Navy in World War II or after, he asked for help. He said he needed help. He was having trouble. And he wasn't given the help that he needed. So he swore off psychiatry and he hated him. So now he's telling you he knows how to cure your mind and be a psychiatrist. But it's all in a made up version of the and whatever he wrote. I'll book my appointment. Yep. Yep. According to LRH, Sir Isaac Newton asked him about the laws of gravity in an earlier life. I don't doubt. I forgot about the past lives. I don't doubt it. Don't doubt it. All right. The cells, as thought units, evidently have an influence. This might have actually been all they knew in the 50s. I don't know when we discovered what, but maybe at that point, I can't remember. It wasn't that long ago that they found the DNA strand. I think it was the 50s or 60s, maybe the 60s. So when he was writing this book, they could only observe that they did things that they were programmed to do. All you need to be a brain surgeon in the Sea Org, good grades, and woodcraft. Oh, God. Oh, my God. All right. We do not have to untangle this structural problem to resolve our functional postulates. The cells evidently retain engrams of painful events. After all, they are the things which get injured. I thought we went through a whole section of the reactive mind retains the engrams in storage banks. So now it's retained in the cell. Kind of contradicted himself. The story of the engram seems to be a story of battle between the troops and the general. Every time the general gets some of the troops killed off, the less fortunate this general is in protecting these troops, the more power the troops assume. The cells evidently pushed the brain on an upward evolution toward higher sentience. Pain reverses the process as though the cells were sorry they had put so much power in the hands of a central commander. So I read this ahead of time, but I was just kind of reading not trying to figure out what I wanted to read. And sometimes these hit me a little different when I read them slower. Also, psychology and psychiatry also rejected his work, so he was all hurt and stuff. Yeah. So each cell run around with a notebook to keep track of bad things. That's what he's saying. Yep. And they don't like they push the brain into higher sentience, but they don't like that the commander is. They want more power than the commander, I guess is what that's just said. Because it says pain reverses the process as though the cells were sorry they had put so much power in the hands of the central commander, which would be the brain, I would think. Wow. The reactive mind may very well be the combined cellular intelligence. Oh, because, okay, this gets to where body thetans. How does this jive with body thetans? Because if the cells of the organism, the flesh and the blood of the body contains the engrams, contains the sentience, then how can the body thetan leave one body and go to another body and retain memory? DJ, he means each cell is like a single soldier? Yes. How many ways does he intend to spin this? So a hurt arm will organize a mutiny. Guess LRH brain organized a riot. I know. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, to me, this completely contradicts a body thetan and what they find out that they're body thetans later and that they've lived multiple lives and that they can retain those memories. Now that makes no sense. It didn't make any sense to begin with. But it really doesn't make sense now. Yeah, that's it. All changed with the introduction of Scientology. Because remember, they had Dianetics centers, they had Dianetic courses. There's a workbook that goes with this. There's DVDs. So they went on with this for many years, and I think it's still available. How do the Thetans avoid the capture to the implant station? He's contradicting himself. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Hi, Audit. I should say Golden Era. Hello. I emailed you back, and I think you emailed me again, but I saw it, but I didn't get to read it yet. I was just looking through real quick. Oh, thank you, Golden Era. That's awesome. Yay. That's really awesome. I'm going to have another members only stream this week, but more at a better hour because I did a late night one last night. So anyway, what we just read was he's contradicting body thetans in saying that the cells of the organism retain the engrams. All right, so we just read the reactive engram bank. The reactive mind may very well be the combined cellular intelligence. The reactive engram bank may be material stored in the cells themselves. So how does the body thetans go from body to body and retain memory if it's in the cells? Oh, I know I got over 1,400 subs. Yay, that was cool too. Could you play Hubbard's Advocate and see anything positive? How do people in the cult see this book? I do. I try to see this book. The reason I wanted to read it, you have to put yourself where it got the most people to come in. He wrote it in the 50s, the 60s and the 70s. So that's the parents and grandparents of the people, the second and third gens. So I look at it that they said this was like a new psychotherapy. So I look at it, I'm trying to look at it not in both realms, in what we know of science now and what we know now, and what we knew of science and healthcare, mental health care, in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And that it was kind of non-existent. It wasn't talked about. It was hidden. So if something were to come out, or somebody were to come out and say, I can fix your mind, I can fix everything wrong with you, and this is why, big word, big word, big word, big word, come to my Dianetics course and I'll explain it. I can understand. I can get it. But, because he makes it, he's taking what we know on instinct, and turning it into, and naming every little thing we do, every reaction we have, every way we think, every way our body reacts, every way our mind reacts. He is breaking that down and naming it and making things up to why those things happen. He's explaining it like he knows all. And then he says earlier on, which some of you may not have heard, he said he will even fix your physical ailments through the mind. He promised that in black and white. I should mark that where he said that. I'm going to. So I could see people who are struggling mentally and maybe physically with pain and stuff. Like me, I've had chronic pain for 14 years. I've had an incurable disease for 14 years. And I could imagine somebody being like that in the 60s, and they didn't have the medical knowledge that we have now. Some things weren't even discovered yet. The disease I have wasn't, they didn't start researching it till the mid 90s. So in 2010, when I got sick, there was very little out there about it. And it changes every year. So I can see 50s, 60s, 70s people reading this and being like, oh my God, he can help me. That makes so much sense. Just saying. Oh my, there's been a lot. I saw it moving. Okay, Jessica, Golden Era. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Shoot. Yeah. I don't know how to. Okay. I'll give a positive argument. Golden Era. In the 1950s, it was more science fun than science fact. Yeah. But yeah, I am trying to be as objective as possible, but sometimes it's just, I keep touching these and then I can't read them. But there is no reactive mind. That's the clear code. It's mocked up. So when Dianetics came out, he totally changed the whole thing when he invented the religion in such a contradiction. Yeah. So he went from the new psychotherapy to, I'm going to use my mouse because when I touch the comment, it says, do you want to show it, and covers it. I can't read it. Okay. All right. There we go. But yeah, so when he moved into Scientology and decided to change some of, and when they go to talk, so until you get honestly to, do they even know about the body thetans if they don't go into OT3? I mean, I know that's when they find about Xenu, but do they know they're a body thetan before that? I think they do. I don't know. That I don't know. I don't think they did. So that's why when you get to OT3 and it all changes, I mean, so when you get to OT3, it's going to contradict every single thing you have studied and learned up to that point. But he makes sure that the mind control and pressure is so much by then that you're afraid to leave. Because how many people we talked to that have left that said, yeah, I got to them and I was like, what? This is freaking ridiculous. So, yeah, only a made up thing can be changed so drastically and be, oh, there was a word I wanted. So, I can't think of it. Yes, people were seeking alternatives from tradition religion during the 60s and early 70s. That and maybe traditional mental health care, because until they started learning more, people were still put in asylums for very minor things. Um, Reading this and being like, yeah, I'd like to do this instead of go into an asylum, and what they were like then. That's a great way to challenge or critically cognitive question new information. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Jessica. I hope so. And an OTA is like return to the start, right? I'm not positive about OTA exactly what I know. There's so much auditing involved up the upper levels that they're auditing themselves several times a day. Also sprinkled in a lot from different philosophy. I'm reading here. We're reading a lot of comments. There we go. Ah, that's better. He also sprinkled in a lot from different philosophies and religions and repackaged, but still also from Crowley and self-help books. He had to have been studying some stuff. He had to get these ideas from somebody. So I know he was disenchanted. So he got a World War II was over in 45, 44, 45. And he wrote this in 54. So we'll say 9 years, maybe 8 years he studied things, maybe looking for help himself, because he said he wanted psychiatric help either during or after World War II, and when he was in the Navy, and that he didn't get that help, and it angered him. So he may have been reading self-help books and going to other religion at first to try to find an answer to himself. And then remember, he told somebody, I'm not making any money on my books, my science fiction books. To make money, you start a religion. So this may have been a more of a, okay, I'm done. I'm going to write my own self-help, my own psychotherapy. I don't know. It would have been blended in with a lot of other self-help material to a largely naive culture. Exactly. Because they didn't have the internet back then. They didn't have ways to study or learn like we do now. Scout's Mouse. All psychosomatic illness can be cured by Dianetics, except he also says it can cure cancer. Yep. Which is why so many F scientists die from stage 4. It's so sad. He did say that in the beginning of this book. He said, I will cure all your physical, other than like injury from a car accident. He put a little caveat in there that, okay, if you lost a leg in a car accident, he couldn't fix it. But that's still a big. Oh, somebody said it earlier. That's just a big thing to say. OTA stage 4, pretty much. Yes, they do earlier, but at 8, it is the whole Xenu business. Yeah, and I know some of them, they're on those OT levels for years. No, they do find out about Xenu in OT3. That I do know that. That's when they get the Xenu story, because I remember, I don't know who the interview was with, but it was Leah Remini, and they asked her, well, what did you think when you got to OT3 and found out about Xenu and the Galactic Federation? She was like, I couldn't believe it. This was ridiculous. I've been living my whole life for this. And I think that was the start of her leaving. It's probably the start of a lot of people leaving in their mind, just not physically yet, because we know how hard that is. But Scouse Mouse, but not on the body at OT3. You are told and have to do clay demo to show the BTs on your body to show you understand. Yeah, they're talking about these statins attaching to you and causing your illnesses. Golden era. If your child falls and they take on engrams, auditing may be needed. Yeah, exactly. OTA, you audit yourself several times a day. Yeah, I know. And you pay so much money for it. Do it. What does anybody remember? I was talking about it. When they run around the pole for 2 hours, what that's called? I know it costs money. It's every other commercial nowadays. I missed. Oh, 1950s was the beginning of a lot of psychiatric meds, which is now the primary focus of most psychiatrists. Yeah. So that's why I think so far that so many people, um, I think, I think, okay, speaking of myself, I've had generalized anxiety disorder for a long time. And then when I got sick and I was stuck in my house 24/7, I got depression. Well, obviously, I was depressed because I could no longer do the things I used to do. And I could see being back in the day, that same thing happening, and the kind of care you would get back then, and then reading this and being like, maybe they can help me, maybe he can fix me, he says he can, let's go find out. So yeah, I could see it. I really could. Now, if you guys, how far in are we? 41 minutes. This is a long chapter. We can split it into two, or we can keep going. So let me know if it starts to wear on, because we've still got all of this. So if you want to stop in a few more pages, we can do that and finish, or we can just keep going. Scooter Mom, I think running around the pool is part of the purification rundown. Okay, I believe it. And people pay to do that. Oh my goodness. And people pay to go in the sauna. There's saunas at your local gym. Go do it there. Okay, gotta switch glasses. All right, where were we? Okay. Okay. The reactive engram bank may be material stored in the cells themselves. Now, when he was talking about the mind, this contradicts even that, what he's already said. I think, oh, you already said that. So, the scientific fact, I love when he says that. The scientific fact, observed and tested, is that the organism, in the presence of physical pain, lets the analyzer, which is the reactive mind, get knocked out of circuit, so that there is a limited quantity or no quantity at all of personal awareness as a unit organism. That's unconsciousness. He talked about being unconscious, but that he can show you how even when you are unconscious, every memory is stored, and he can bring that out. So every precept present, including physical pain, is recorded during these non-analytical moments. Whenever pain is present, physical pain, that is, the analyzer gets shut down to a small or large extent, the reactive mind. Or no, the reactive mind is the subconscious. Oh, the analytical, I'm wrong, you guys. I had to go back and look it up. The analytical mind, which is your normal mind, is the analyzer. The reactive mind is the subconscious. And okay, because when you go unconscious, the reactive mind kicks in and records everything, he said. Okay, sorry about that. I remembered that wrong. The analyzer gets shut down to a small or large extent. That's just your brain. If the duration of the pain is only an instant, there is still an instant there of analytical reduction. This can be proven very easily. Just try to recall the last time you were seriously hurt and see if there isn't at least a momentary blank period. We all disagreed that we couldn't. He tried to say we couldn't remember past intense physical pain. I'm like, I beg to differ. So now he's trying to say that even in a small, quick injury, there's a momentary blank period. I don't get that, and I don't understand it. I made a playlist of your Dianetics series for catching up and watch hours available on my community page, Cricket Cinema. Well, thank you. That's an awesome. I hope I I'm going over it well enough. That's also why, if you notice, I read off who the comment is and what they say before I answer it, because I know I watch a lot of streams on replay, and they'll just answer, and I don't know really what the question was, so I try to do that. Okay, where were we? Momentary blank period. Going to sleep under anesthetic and waking up sometime later is a more complicated sort of shutdown in that it includes physical pain, but is initially caused by a poison, and all anesthetics are poison. Technically. He said technically. So now this is why he's scaring people from getting surgery. I've heard a couple people on their streams saying that, they were afraid to get anesthetic, they were afraid to have surgery, and this is why. Natural sleep causes a reduction of analytical activity, but is actually not very deep or serious. By Dianetics therapy, any experience occurring during sleep can be recovered with ease. Yeah, well, why would we want to? If we're under anesthesia for an intense, painful operation, why do we want to remember that? To me, it sounds like a ripoff from Pablo's behavioral training. Probably is. And you'll see in a little while where he has talked about hypnotism before, and then we got into a discussion of a lot of the training they do this over and over. Oh, somebody else was talking about it, and they said the training was like hypnotism. I can't remember who was talking about it, but we had already read it in here, and he really leans into that hypnosis, and I'm sure that he studied hypnosis, and I think we're gonna find it, and I think that's another way that he gets people mind controlled. I think the way that he's doing it, and the way that they're training, and the way that they're drilling, and that it's causing a hypnosis. Sleep recording, yeah. Self-suggestion as some form of meditation also does. Yeah. And they said there are times, somebody else was saying this, I wish I could remember who, that you sit across from somebody for 2 hours, and sometimes you just stare at each other. Well, you're going to go into some sort of meditative state. They've even said you just go out of your body sometimes, and they think it's because you're bored, but it's a form of hypnosis on yourself. Okay. It can now be seen that there are many ways in which analytical power can be shut down. Now, that's your regular brain can shut down, but your reactive mind, your subconscious, is still working. Okay, he's explained that earlier. And it can be seen that there is a greater or lesser reduction. When one burns one finger with a cigarette, there is a small instant of pain and a small amount of reduction. When one undergoes an operation, the duration may be in terms of hours, and the amount of shutdown may be extreme. The duration and amount of reduction are two different things. Related but quite dissimilar. This is not so very important, but it is mentioned. We have seen, reading in Dianetics this far, that the principle of the spectrum has been quite useful to us, and it can be seen that the amount of reduction in analytical power can be described in the same way that survival potential can be described. There can be a very little bit, and there can be a very great deal. Okay. Going back and taking a look at the survival potential range. Now that was this diagram he had back here. I think I found it. The graph of survival. Literally a graph of survival. Pretty much, if you weren't there, he's only talking about our basic instincts of survival. That's all it is. Your basic instinct of survival, but he's got to make it, expand it, and make it this big scientific breakthrough when all it is our basic instinct. You enter a sense of trance. Yes, that's what I meant. So they have to sit across from each other and do nothing for 2 hours, or do one thing for 2 hours, and yeah, you're going to go into a trance. Cricket. The reactive mind idea fits neatly into cognitive behavioral therapy, another thing in the arena of the 50s. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And like I said, I tried to cut out as much as I could, but if I did, the next few paragraphs wouldn't make any sense. Okay. Oh, that's a comma. God, he uses so many commas in run-on paragraphs. I'll read almost this much, and there won't be a period. Okay, so at the survival potential range, comma, one can see that there would be death at the bottom and immortality at the top. There is an infinite survival. Whether or not there can be infinite analytical power is a matter of mysticism, but that there is a definite relationship between individual tone and the amount of analytical shutdown is a scientific fact, of course. Put it this way, with an individual well and happy and enthusiastic, analytical power can be considered to be high zones 3 and 4. With the individual under the wheels of a truck, unconscious and in agony, the analytical power may be considered to be ranging in zone 0. There is a ratio between potential survival and analytical power. As one goes down, so does the other. There is more data to be concluded from this than one would think at first glance. It is a very important ratio. All the precepts are included in an engram. 2 of these precepts are physical pain and painful emotion. A third is organic sensation. Greater or lesser unconsciousness was present. This meant that there was an organic sensation of reduced analytical power, since analytical power derives evidently from an organ or organs in the body. If an engram is reactivated by a restimulator or restimulators, that goes on to something else. Let's go back to this. Okay. So first he's talking about the analytical mind and the reactive mind. Now he's saying he's saying the analytical power derives from an organ or organs in the body. Well, the brain, but he's trying to say it's at the cellular level. Wow, I'm trying to read faster. Let me know if it's too fast. If an engram is reactivated by a restimulator or restimulators, I cut a little bit of this out. So a restimulator is if you have an engram of something that happened on, trying to pick something. Let's say in a baseball diamond, and you smell. Oh gosh, I can't think of. He goes in. He's gonna do it. A stimulator is you may experience a smell or a taste or hear something that was attached to the bad thing that happened to you, and it might bring it back. We all know what that is. We all know that happens. It can also bring back good things too. So, and that's what he's talking about. That's what a restimulator is: a sight, a smell, a taste, or something, or a sound. There can be greater or lesser restimulation. An engram can be put into force just a little bit by restimulators in the environment or with many restimulators present. There is just one common denominator of all engrams, just one thing which every engram has and which is possessed by every other engram. Each contains the datum that the analyzer is more or less shut down. Okay, so the data is saying they were shut down. Okay. There is a shutdown datum in every engram. Therefore, every time an engram is restimulated, even though physical pain has not been received by the body, some analytical power turns off. The organ, here's where the turning off, when he starts talking about it, it reminded me of hypnotism. Okay. The organ turns off. The organ or organs which are the analyzer are fused out of the circuit in some degree. This is highly important to an understanding of the mechanics of aberration. Remember, everything wrong with us is an aberration. He can cure it. Where'd the aberration word go? Oh, it is scientific fact, susceptible of proof, and it never varies. This always happens when an engram is received. The analyzer is shut down by the physical pain and emotion. When the engram is restimulated, the analyzer shuts down as part of the commands of the engram. Actually, this is a mechanical thing. Engram is restimulated, part of the analytical power is shut down. So, it is like a memory or sensation trigger. Yeah, like a trigger. Exactly. Date of manufacturer for the engrams, but no best for date. Yeah. So what he's going to get into is the mechanics of how using how an engram can constantly give you. What I was thinking of is he's about to explain how you can use engrams to control somebody in a way. And if you remember, in Scientology, they're abusive, and they take personal comforts away. And so in a lot of ways, they've spent a person's whole life in Scientology giving them engrams. So think of that they're getting engrams in Scientology, and what he says it causes. Put a man under ether, hurt him in the chest, he has received an engram because his analytical power was turned off first by ether and then by chest pain. While he was there on the operating table, the reactive mind, your subconscious, recorded the click of instruments, everything said, all sounds and smells. Okay. The engram will be keyed in, so trigger or keyed in. So the keyed in is, so the engram will be keyed in by something in the future, a similar incident. Okay. The restimulator, or the clicking of the instrument, tended to bring the whole engram slightly into being, and part of the engram command is a reduced analytical power. So the engram, the physical pain, when restimulated is reducing the analytical power, and that's your brain, your mind. It's reducing the power to in your thought processes is what I want to. An analytical power, analytical of your thought processes. So it's shutting down your thought processes. He blames engrams for stimulus triggers and phobias, in my opinion. Yeah, he does, and he's gonna mention that. Then when you get to Scientology, you find out all this engram stuff is obsolete, and it's really about Thetans. Exactly. How do Scientologists just work that in their brain? He speaks of desensitivity training, brainwash, not think and react. That's what he's going to say. And that's the whole time I was reading this, I'm thinking, yeah, now you know how to use that against people. He's trying to tell you he's going to make you better, when in reality, we all know it makes people worse. So when people say people in Scientology or did this were gullible or not smart, that's not it at all. This guy was insidious, and the stuff that he did and taught just helped him control people. All right, so this is push button quotation in its precision. If one knew another's, here it is, if one knew another's main restimulators, words, voice tones, music, whatever they are, things which are filed in the reactive mind bank as parts of an engram in your subconscious, one could turn another's analytical power almost completely off, actually render him unconscious. There it is. Oh, hi, Diana. Oh, that's okay. I'm going to spend a couple days recovering from this last few days. We'll talk about that after. Okay, so You might want to go back and listen to this one because no, actually, this is a good place for you to start. Don't worry we're just talking about engrams. But what I figured out that he's saying here is he's figured out a way to control people. He's figured out a way to shut down their analytical mind with engrams, things, and it goes, and that's what I think. Because other members now, I've heard them on there talking to each other about how they used to go into trances, but not just that. So he said push button. So now he knows people's buttons. He knows how to work people's buttons. So let me read that paragraph again, because that's what I heard, is that he now knows how to turn off somebody's analytical power, and which is your mind, and shut them down. Okay, this is a push button in its precision. If one knew another's main re-stimulators, words, voice tones, music, whatever they are, things which are filed in the reactive mind, what we would call the subconscious, reactive mind bank, as parts of engrams, one could turn another's analytical power almost completely off, actually render him unconscious or unable to think. Auto-zombification. Adam, that was well said. Dianetics is auto-zombification. Yes, it is. So let me keep reading. We all know people who make us feel stupid. There can be two causes for that, but both of them are from engrams. And one of them is the fact that no matter what engram is brought into restimulation, part of the analytical power is turned off. So he's learning how to shut down your mind, your analytical mind, your thought processes with restimulators or triggers. Engrams can, if environment is uniform, what do we know about being in the Sea Org or being in Scientology? The environment is uniform across the world. So if engrams can, if environment is uniform, be held in chronic re-stimulation. So you can be getting chronic triggers that are going to shut down your analytical mind. To me, that's hypnotism. That's mind control. Right there. He just explained what he does. So that's why being a kind person is not allowed in Scientology, that you can get in trouble for being kind. You're not allowed to have friends. You're not allowed to have anything happy. You're not allowed to do anything fun. Everything is causing engrams. They cause you engrams or bad situations that you can trigger. Yeah, and this one's really good because he's literally telling us how he's mind controlling everyone in the Scientology. All right. Engrams can, if environment is uniform, be held in chronic restimulation. This means a chronic, partial shutdown of analytical power. The recovery of intelligence by a clear and the rise of that intelligence to such fantastic heights results in part from the relief of word commands and engrams that he is stupid, and in a larger part from the relief of this chronic shutdown condition. Well, as we all know, people don't really go clear. People don't really go get rid of all their engrams in Scientology. So the How to Cult by Elron. Exactly. Hellgear. I always wondered about the new engrams they got with upsets after attaining the state of clear. I know. Well, personally, I don't think they ever get the state of clear. I think they fake it. And secondly, because If you reach the state of clear, he says that if you reach the state of clear, you'll no longer have to wear eyeglasses. That your eyes will and that eye doctors will get paid very well because you'll go through 5 sets of glasses as your vision gets better. So how do you if you still have to wear glasses because you can't see and you went clear, how do you Scientologists have to lie to themselves. They're lying to themselves. Or they figure out it's all bull and they have to stay. I think that's why we have so many under the radar. I think there's a lot of people in Scientology that don't believe in it. The only thing getting clear is a bank account. Yeah. Don't think about it. Just trust me and join. The Hubbard computer model just has people endlessly clearing the cache. Yeah. Cache. Cache. I never say that right. We have systems. Yeah, they have to justify it to themselves. Maybe they even take their glasses off and just like deal with it. Self-brainwash. Or they go get LASIK. Self-brainwash. But I think there's more to it. I really do. Because everything is so uniform. And he even told them how to wash windows. So everything he wrote, they had to follow. And he knows all the way back in 1954 how to control people with hypnotic type suggestions almost, or by pushing their buttons and constantly being in a state of restimulation to the point that they just can't think because of all this restimulation of horrible things. Think about it. They're always yelled at. They even yell at each other in training. That causes engrams. Could you imagine being in training where they're trying to move you from one side to the other and they're screaming obscenities in your face, and that's supposed to get you to not have any reaction to someone in an auditing session saying horrible things? So they scream these things at you in training. That's going to cause your brain to shut down. That's what they want. That's what he wants. You shut down to the point where you no longer react. And now you're in like a zombie state now, walking around. Man, I hope so many survivors that have gotten out hear this part right here. You know what? I may do like a really short part of just this freaking one page just to put out there. Because if they heard this, a lot of them would probably like be, oh, now I understand what he did to me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm that intelligent. It just really clicked because he talks about hypnotism earlier on. So he's giving himself away. He's totally giving himself away. Yeah, Judy, the audacity of the man to tell people how to clean windows. Not this is one way to, but this is the only way. Computers have a cache memory. Epstein has a cache memory. Yeah. 95% of a con is to state you know it best and better than anyone else. Yes, it is. You have to look like you know something and you don't have any questions. I know how that works. In a trance. Yeah. Cache. Okay, I am saying it right. Thanks, good mom. I read it a lot. I don't say it very often. All right. So this is very eye-opening to a never end. And I think it would be very eye-opening because I don't even know how many survivors have read Dianetics. Most people say they try to read it and they put it down. I'm going to force myself to go through it because I just found something very, very, very enlightening in 3 paragraphs. Okay. I'm going to read it again because it's that important. Engrams can, if the environment is uniform, be held in chronic restimulation, even auditing rooms. Think about it. The e-meter, the auditing, this going into an auditing session. It's all the same wherever you go. Words, voices, voice tones, music, whatever they are, things which are filed in the reactive mind bank as parts of engrams, one can turn another's analytical power almost completely off actually render him unconscious or zombie. Okay. Engrams then, being received in unconsciousness, cause a partial unconsciousness to exist every time they are restimulated. So he's saying it again. Engrams then, being received in unconsciousness, cause a partial unconsciousness to exist every time there are restimulation. Every time you are in auditing, if you go over it again, or every time you're in a training room and you've done this before and they gave you an engram, it's restimulated over. So they're in constant restimulation or fight or flight. I think some survivors have mentioned being in constant fight or flight. Any aberree need not receive new physical pain to have a new moment of partial unconsciousness take place. Feeling dopey or sleepy or dull results in part from a partially shut down analyzer or partially shut down brain or mind. Being nervous or in a rage or frightened also carries with it partially shut off analytical power. So he has created a tech that it constantly has you in a partial shutdown of an analytical power because you're constantly nervous, you're constantly on edge, you're constantly triggered. Then again, you are not allowed to question or analyze his words, just accept and adapt. Exactly. Resistance is futile. Welcome to the seaboard. Oh, very good. Resistance is futile. Welcome to the seaboard. Yes. They're making trauma a weapon. Exactly, Cricket. That the whole time I was reading this, I was thinking so many survivors have come out talking about how it was trauma and have trauma from what they went through in the Sea Org or staff or any of it. So, yeah, that's exactly what it all is. Stripping away all happiness, stripping away the family, stripping away anything good and replacing it with nothing but turmoil and trauma so that your analytical mind shuts down. You don't think, you're not questioning. You don't think, oh my God, this is such BS. And somehow they have to be brought out of that state in order to get them to leave. That's why I can't yell mean things at people inside the Scientology, because this is what they're going through. And that's not going to get them to want to leave. We need to give them something positive to want to leave. Something that is better than what they're in. They weaponized Darvo. This is just physiology. The way our bodies work, he weaponized it against people. He did. Hypervigilant. Good word. Yes, hypervigilant. And if you think about, and sleep deprived, we all know they're kept sleep deprived. They did that to me in basic training. Honestly, I like basic training. I was fine. It was the lack of sleep that I hated because you didn't get in till late. You only had a certain amount of time to get to bed. And then I would ask to be waking up at 3 a.m. because we had to be out by 4 because you didn't have time to shine your shoes. So we would all get up and go hide in the bathroom at 3 a.m. and shine our shoes and get our uniforms ready because you didn't have time. So we literally averaged 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night, and it was horrible. It was horrible. That was the worst part. And so if they keep them sleep deprived, they keep them under control because they're tired. You can't think straight. And then he's doing all this stuff at you. I mean, it's horrible. It's even worse than I really ever thought it was. It's really, really. I can't imagine. I'm going to have to read. Give me a few minutes. All right, let's read some more. And I was doing it with something fun. I was sleep deprived, but I wasn't being treated horribly. I couldn't imagine the other way around. All right. Yeah, right glasses. Okay. Oh, here he goes in hypnotist. Okay. The hypnotist has success. He puts that in quotations for some reason. A hypnotist has success where he does because he is able, by talking to people about sleep, to put into restimulation some engram which contains the word sleep and shut down analytical power. This is one of the reasons hypnotism works. He's explaining what he's doing. You know what? I didn't highlight this next paragraph, but I'm going to read it anyway. The whole society, however, is liable to analytical shutdown in greater or lesser degree by the restimulation of engrams. Okay, I don't need to read the rest. A person who has keyed in or triggered, keyed in means triggered, a person who has keyed in engrams and does exist in the area of many restimulators is liable to an enormous amount of restimulation and analytical shutdown. What we just figured out on our own from what he already said. A person who has a triggered engram or emotion and does exist in the area of many restimulators or triggers. Well, keyed in and restimulator, I guess they both mean kind of triggers, is liable to an enormous amount of triggers and shutdown. So all of the Sea Org and every place they go contains an enormous amount of restimulators to the abuse that they have received. A historical note, the Abery was also the name of an anti-Scientology satire newsletter from the 50s. Really? I didn't know that. Let me take these off so I don't have to look up. No face. Tool. Opiate. If you want to get your soul to heaven, trust in me now. Don't you judge or question. You are broken now, but faith can heal you. Just do everything I tell you to do. Sound familiar? Yes, exactly. I would never do well as a scientist. If someone were to push me like that, I'd push back and laugh. Yeah, I don't like stress. I don't like it. But like I said, basic training was like that. I that's the only thing I have to understand what they go through in the Sea Org. You know, we were constantly going. You didn't get to think much. Constantly going, constantly doing the same things, training, because you had to remember this stuff. It was, and yeah, drill sergeants were mean. They would get in your face, but you know, if you did everything you were told to do, and see, I'm 5'2". My last name started with a W, and I'd already been in ROTC, so I knew what to expect. So they didn't bother me at all. So I did what I was told, and I never volunteered. In the 6th week of basic training of 8 weeks, I went up to my drill sergeant to ask a question, and he goes, "Private, are you in my platoon?" I knew I won. So I forget what I was getting at. Because it didn't stress me out. There were people in there that couldn't take being told what to do, and they did try to fight back, and we had a couple people that left. With the males, I think a lot of times they had fist fights and stuff, but so I mean, that's the only way I can understand what they went through, is constant training, constantly moving, constantly working, all the writing they have to do, all the things they have to turn in. You never get a breath, and you work 100 hours. You get no sleep. You work all the time. You're constantly in this state of upset, and then you're abused. Even though the e-meter doesn't work, they are digging for people's trauma, then drilling down on it. That's incredibly dangerous. Yes. Oh, DJ. When you hold the book that way, the pick of Alarites looks more like Pennywise in it. I know. Ooh. Ooh. Let's see. That is why society is made passive with all soaps and reality drama series. Yeah. I don't like a lot of reality. Um, no wonder the ex members feel triggered going to orgs to protest. I'm glad they can do it safely and gently face that fear. Yes. I mean, I watch Nora a lot, all the time now, and she talks about the intense therapy she has to go through. She has a team because I mean, she either was born into it or was very young, and then I think at least her dad was in the Sea Org, and how I watched how she went in the Sea Org just to make him happy. But luckily she did have somewhat of a normal life till then, but a lot of them didn't. We know a lot of them was in the Sea Cadets, and they were abused from a young age. We know people that were, when they used to have daycares, they were treated badly as babies. I mean, the fact that they're functioning individuals at all is amazing. Is amazing in and of itself. And that's, I think, the reason why we're all here. Is what they have been through is horrific, and they need people to be there for them. And we need to get these other people out. And I hope reading this book helps us figure that out, because it sure did me. Man, I totally get it. Totally get it now. If I didn't before, which I did, I totally get it. All right. The hypnotist. All right, we read that. Person's keyed in, who has keyed in engrams and does exist in an area of many restimulators, is liable to an enormous amount of restimulation and analytical shutdown, meaning your brain just shuts down. This is a normal condition. If a person has a large number of engrams and they are keyed in and he lives around many restimulators, his condition can vary from normal to insane. And in a single day, as in the case of the man who experiences moments of rage or a woman who drops into apathies, the condition of a person may vary from normal to insane and back to normal. We take here the word insane to mean utter irrationality. So there is temporary or chronic insanity. He's causing people to be insane. He's telling us he's going to fix that for you, but in reality, he's just going to make it worse. Even with a good therapist, processing trauma is delicate. Yeah. No one. Oh, you said that. Oh, I missed that one then. I thought oh no, you said. No wonder the exes feel triggered going to, or no, you already read that one. Okay. Sorry, I thought there was something new. He's like, the whole time he's writing this or researching this to write it, he's going, I got you now, little bastard. Sorry, when I get angry, I curse. Blame the army. All right. I skipped that paragraph. The law says sanity is the ability to tell right from wrong. He just goes through murders and stuff knowing right from wrong. I just skipped that. When man is subject to a mechanism, and all men are, which lets him be rational one minute and re-stimulated the next, none in the society, if uncleared, can be considered able to always tell right from wrong. This is completely aside from what the law means by right and what it means by wrong. This is an example of the roller coaster sanity curve of the aberree. But in aberrated persons, the engram bank is always susceptible of restimulation. Okay, so you're okay. The sanest quotation aberree of Tuesday may be a murderer on Wednesday if the exactly right situation occurs to trip the exact engram. A clear is not entirely predictable in any given situation. He has such a wide power of choice, but an aberrated person transcends all predictability for the following reasons. One, what engrams an aberrate has in his reactive engram bank, none know, including himself. Two, the situation will contain what restimulators is a matter of chance. And three, what his power of choice will be with the factors in the engrams on a reactive level cannot be established. The variety of conduct which one can evolve out of these basic mechanics is so wide that is no wonder that man was considered to be a rather hopeless case by some philosophies. Because I'm uncleared, I can't even tell right from wrong. Interesting. Exactly. Cricket. I found this very informative. Much appreciated. You're doing a great job reading and sharing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love swearing. I read somewhere or I heard somewhere that somebody who swears is actually highly intelligent. I can't remember the reason why. I'll look it up. But I was like, oh, okay. I was really good for a while. But then my daughter I'm in a military town. And I worked in an office and I had to watch myself. But she had a boyfriend that came around, and his friends would come around, and I never heard the F word so much in my life. Literally, a 10-word sentence would have 5 F words. And I just heard it, and I was saying it again. So I've worked at it. Now that I'm doing live streams and stuff, I've gotten really a lot better at it. And I was doing it too much. Okay. So clear means cleared from individual thought process. Seems like it. He said you have such a wide number of choices being cleared, but I didn't quite understand that. So let's keep going. We still have, let's see, how far are we? Yeah, guys, we're not even halfway. I'm just going to keep going. If you guys can't stay, you can always come back and finish it. I think we're in a really good vein here. I don't think I want to quit right now. So if we get to where it changed, because the last 3 pages I didn't get to read. The cells, if the engram bank is retained on a cellular level, remember that he says our pain memories are in the cells. But then he talks about the reactive mind memory bank again. So make up your mind, guy. If the engram bank is retained on a cellular level, might be theoretically supposed to have made sure that the analyzer, our brain, did not get too adventurous in this life and death matter of living. They therefore could be considered to have copied down all data contained in every moment of physical pain and every moment of physical pain and emotion resulting in or contained in unconsciousness. Then when any data similar to this appeared in the environment, they could be wary, and with a large number of restimulators in sight, they could be considered to shut down the analyzer and proceed on reaction. So your brain shuts down, and now you're on instinct. It could be theorized by the cells that the placing of the data and action in effect under circumstances which threaten to be similar would result once more in survival. Well, we all know he broke down instinct into this whole thing about survival. Instinct is survival. We have fight or flight, which is our survival instinct. That's what I think he means here, but he won't say it. DJ, we have the freedom to choose whatever we decide to be your choice. It's true. Smart people swear more. That's what I heard. I wonder what engrams my chronic pain has collected for me. DJ, I'm right there with you because I'm feeling it right now. 2 back-to-back days in Austin. Then last night, a long stream. And when I'm sitting here, I'm sitting, I'm trying to put my legs straight. I'm in Indian style. I'm 55 in Indian style. My hips and my back. But that's okay. I'd feel it anyway. It's going to be there regardless. But yeah, I know. Man. I'm going to have to think on that. Wow. All right. The moronic thinking, when I do this, that particular word he puts in quotation marks. The moronic thinking is typical of the reactive mind. So he's calling the reactive mind a moron. It is just the sort of thinking it does. It is the ultimate in conservatism. It misses the point and important data at every turn. It overloads the body with pain. It is a whirlpool of confusion. If there were just 1 engram per situation, maybe it would get by. But there may be 10 engrams with similar data in them, an engram blockchain. And yet the data may be so contradictory that when a new emergency arises, which contains the restimulators of the chain, no proper past conduct can be put forth to meet it. So it just sounds like you get overloaded and can't make a decision. So you just go on reaction. That sounds a lot like what they do to them. Oh, thanks, DJ. I wonder if there is like an engram trading card game asking for a friend. Yeah, I don't like this one. You take this one, I'll take yours. Or my engram is worse than your engram. Trump. Either or. All right, where were we? Obviously, the X factor is language. The cells, if this is a problem in cells, probably do not understand languages very well. If they did, they wouldn't evolve such solutions. Imagine that. Cells don't understand language. I don't know what that is, DJ. My time and experience in Scientology as a child and teenager never felt safe. In fact, I was in constant uneasiness. And that's exactly what he wanted. It was his control mechanism. He's telling us right here that he knows what that does. In trying to tell you he's going to fix you. I mean, he laid it all out. We're not even this far into the book. And he just laid out how he was going to set everything up, how he was going to mind control, and not let you guys choose for yourself. The repetition, the drills, the having the rehearsed answers for people outside, all of that, and the constant on the go that you guys have to do. If you're constantly on the go and you're constantly working, when are you going to have time to think? When are you going to have time to sit down? And if you're constantly sleep deprived, you're never going to have a chance to sit down and question what is being done to you or what your environment is or how your treatment is. You don't have the chance. You're physically unable. Judy, my cells only speak French. It is a term in programming. Basically, there are programmable entities with set attributes and ways to use them with data or commands. Oh, I was going to go into psychology. That hurt my brain too. My cells only speak. Okay. Thanks for the lightness. Okay, let's keep going. They wouldn't evolve such. Okay, here we go. Take 2 engrams about baseball bats. In the first, the individual is hit on the head and knocked out, and somebody else run, run, run. In the second, the individual is knocked out by the bat in the same environment, and somebody else, stay there, you're safe. Now, what does he do when he hears a baseball bat or smells one or sees one or hears these words, run or stay there? He has a similar pain for each action. What actually happens? He gets a headache. This is that thing called conflict. This is anxiety. And anxiety can become very acute indeed on a purely mechanical level when one has 90 engrams pulling him south and 89 pulling him north. Does he go north or south, or does he have a nervous breakdown? Again, he's showing us what he's doing in Scientology. The public may not get that as much, but in the Sea Org and possibly staff and training and in the environment, I mean, why does training take 2 years for a position, or 5 years, or why does he always extend it when you think it's going to be a year and it's longer? So it's the training that you do for that position, even if you're staff and you get to live in your own house, you're still. So that is a headache if you allow someone to hit you again on the head with a bat. Yeah. But I get what he's saying. You've got so many engrams. You have so much trauma. You have so much trauma that your brain is completely confused on what to do, which causes you, like you said, you felt, Kimmy, you felt, is that right? Kim, same as me. You always felt nervous and you never felt safe. That is what he wanted. Right there. He knows what that does, and he that's what he used. He used this information. Now I'm getting kind of angry. So you can't decide to go north or south, so you have a nervous breakdown. And then they wonder why people in Scientology have nervous breakdowns. By intentional construction or accident in design of bypass and evolution, where the old useless organ is still built, the cells manage to hide this engram bank fairly well. Oh yeah, that's scientific fact. It is like the program of the Manchurian Candidate. Remember the Bronson film, 1970s telephone. I think there's actually a movie called Manchurian Candidate, but I know what that means. That's where you get so mind controlled that you can go back to your regular life, but as soon as you get a certain trigger, you'll murder somebody, the person important, usually the president or something like that. The more time pressure and stress, the more you react and less think, and that is how they program people. Yep. Or repetition. That's how I was trained in basic training. Total repetition. Just like I've heard, the more I hear people, this is why I watch so many survivors, because they tell us about the drills and the training. And now that I have that information and I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the exact plot of the Manchurian Candidate. Clear equals blank. Yep. Wow. Because I know how stressed I am in normal life. I couldn't imagine being in that environment. I feel for all you guys. Okay, so where were we? Manage fairly. Okay, so the engram bank is hidden. He found it, because he's so smart. The cells manage to hide this engram bank fairly well. Man is conscious in his analytical mind. When he is unconscious, his analytical mind is unable to monitor the incoming data, and the data is not to be found in the thing we call, by analog, the standard bank. Now, if you haven't heard earlier, the standard bank is your normal memory bank, and the engram bank is your subconscious memory bank. Therefore, whatever came in passed by consciousness, and having passed by consciousness cannot, without Dianetic procedure, recall it, since there is no channel for recall. Hi, Bob. Yeah. Okay. That is one of the things I've learned, to not let myself be too stressed or pressured, especially in decisions. Yeah, I've always had anxiety, but I have that anxiety that makes you work hard and do everything perfectly. And I worry about all the things that could go wrong. So I taught all my kids all these things that could go wrong, and they actually worked. Because I sat down with the Girl Scouts and my kids and told them, if you're walking home from school and there's a slow car coming near you, walk the opposite way because they can't turn around. And it happened to my daughter, and there's a cut through the neighborhood over here, and she went that way. And I just happened to be working a job then that I wasn't home at that day. But that's just that's me. And I'm like, I'm already like that. It did have to do with trauma, not my childhood trauma. But I can imagine living as an adult, a child to adulthood through adolescence, in this kind of turmoil all the time. I just couldn't. Okay. So he says, without Dianetics process, you can't recall it. The engram enters when consciousness is absent. It therefore, or thereafter, operates directly into the organism. Only by Dianetics therapy can the analyzer come into possession of this data, and the removal of it does not depend upon the analyzer contacting it at all. Despite an old belief that the realization of something cures it. Realize an engram and one is in quick trouble. Without Dianetic technique. The engram is received by the cellular body. The reactive mind could be the very lowest level of analytical power, of course, but this does not alter the scientific fact that the engram acts as if it were soldered in connection to the life function regulator, and the organic coordination and the basic level of the analytical mind itself. By soldered in, it meant permanent connection. The keying in is the hookup of the engram as part of the operating machinery of the body. An analytical thought process is not permanently hooked in, but can be thrown in and out of circuit at the will of the analyzer, the brain. This is not true of the engram, thus the term soldered in. Okay. This is where we find out how bad engrams are, and he has to help you get rid of them. I will. I like Charles Bronson. I don't know if I've seen either of them. I just know what Manchurian Candidate means. I think I have seen one. Okay. Soldered in. So it's permanent. An engram is permanent. Okay, then how's he going to help you with it? He's going to tell us, I hope. The analytical mind lays down a training pattern. Training pattern. Pay attention to this. We were talking about it. Lays down a training pattern on a stimulus response basis. The training pattern will work smoothly and well whenever it will do the organism the most good. An engram is a training pattern, all complete in a package, permanently hooked into the circuits without Dianetic therapy. And it goes into operation like a training pattern without any consent whatever from the analyzer. Exactly like we were saying, the training, the drills, all of that. It just goes in, bypasses your brain, and you do it. Solder in. There he plays with his electric kid again. Yeah, he should stop doing that. It's going to hurt somebody. All right. So, that was where I ended reading. So we're closer to the end now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Okay. So, because I was like, well, what did he mean by the analyzer? And I had to go back and look. And the analyzer is just the analytical mind, or our normal brain our thought process. Pavlovian and behavioral training, reward versus punishment. Yeah. But I haven't heard, other than people who give money, that there's any reward in Scientology or in the Sea Org. It's all punishment. I don't want to be punished, so I'm going to do this. You have to let me know if you were in what if any, were there any rewards given? I'm curious. That might be if y'all heard the cookie scenario with Sterling Tompkins, that cookie was very important. So they make the littlest things very important. All right, so influenced itself. Okay, so by the engram in the several ways of reduced analytical power and positive suggestion in the engram. The analytical mind is unable to discover any truly valid reason for the conduct of the organism. It therefore makes up a reason, for its job is to make sure the organism is always right. Just as the young man with the detachable coat that was hypnotized gave forth a number of silly explanations as to why he was detaching his coat, so does the analytical mind, observing the body engaged in irrational actions, including speech, for which there seems to be no accounting, justify the actions. Now, we've already said people in Scientology have to justify when they find out information that doesn't make sense, or what I say, rationalize. The engram can dictate all the various processes incident to living. It can dictate beliefs, opinions, thought processes, or lack of them, and actions of all kinds, and can establish conditions remarkable for their complexity as well as their stupidity. An engram can dictate anything it contains, and engrams can contain all the combinations of words in the entire language. And the analytical mind is forced, in the light of irrational behavior or conviction, to justify, in italics, the acts and conditions of the organism as well as its own strange blunders. This is justified thought. Every time Aaron says, don't think about it too hard, this is exactly what I thought I'm thinking when I read this. An absence of a punishment can be viewed as a reward too. True, DJ, true. Bob, he threw enough shit against the wall. He got some stuff right. None of it is his own. No, he studied it, but this chapter alone is showing us how he's able to control people in Scientology from the grave. I think David Miscavige and changing things because he didn't like LRH. Somebody said he had a hatred because he's a narcissist. In changing some of the things that he's doing and changing some of the words, I think that's why the wheels are falling off the train. If he would have stuck to everything that LRH was doing, they wouldn't be where they are now, probably. He would have kept more control. Don't know for sure, but that's just my opinion. Let me get some water, guys. Okay. You were right that he needs to pick a lane. Are the engrams in the cell or the mind? I know. It's both, I guess. I don't know. Water, then caffeine. Had a late night. If Dusty's still here, he'll tell you. It was fun though. I'm a night owl anyway. My whole family's night owls. My son worked nights for years. My husband's worked nights since 2012. And then I'm up at night because they are. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Why? Oh, the code. The thought. Oh, this is justified thought. That's in italics, which means he's probably going to say it again. Oh, sounds like it might get interesting. There are 3 kinds of thought, then of which the organism is capable. A, analytical thought, which is rational as modified by education and viewpoint. B, justified thought, analytical thought attempting to explain reactions. And C, reactive thought, which is wholly in terms of everything in an engram equals everything in an engram equals all the restimulators in the environment and all things associated with those restimulators. I took ibuprofen, I still have a headache. We have all seen somebody make a blunder and then give forth an explanation of just why that blunder had been made. This is justified thought. The blunder was made, unless out of education or viewpoint, by an engram. The analytical mind then had to justify the blunder to make sure that the body was right and that its computations were right. Now, he said the mind was the best computer ever made and that our computations are always right. Oh, DJ, if you have to go, you can finish later. Um, now, there are 2 other conditions which can be caused by engrams. Oh, no. Really? I'm sorry that I didn't get to this point. Now, there are 2 other conditions which can be caused by engrams. One is dramatization, and the other is valence. I think that's how you say it, or valence. He had to put this at the bottom. Valence. Personality. The term is used to denote the borrowing of the personality of another. A preclear in his father's valence is acting as if he were his father. So engrams are going to cause you to take on someone else's personality? Oh, my head. Oh. All right, let's see what this means. He has to give a huge explanation because we're done. Okay, DJ. You have seen some child come forth with a tirade, a tantrum. You have seen some man go through a whole rage action. You have seen people who go through a whole irrational set of actions. These are dramatizations. Well, we kind of know what dramatizations are. We know what they look like, obviously. They come about when an engram is thoroughly restimulated. In a toddler or child, a child has a tirade or a tantrum because of a past trauma. Okay. They come about when an engram is thoroughly restimulated. So thoroughly, that is soldered in aspect takes over the organism. It may come into circuit slightly or wholly, which is to say that there are degrees of dramatization. Yeah, duh. When it is in full parade, the engram is running off verbatim, and the individual is like an actor, puppet-like, playing his dictated part. A person can be given new engrams which will make these old ones take secondary importance. Society's punishment complex is aimed squarely at giving anti-engram education. Okay. Dramatization is survival conduct. In the silly, reactive mind way of thinking, based on the premise that the organism is in a similar situation. I don't know why that's quotation. Lived through it because these actions were present. The woman who was knocked down and kicked would dramatize her engram. I think I can skip that. He's just saying the same stuff. This aspect of dramatization is strictly tooth and claw survival. It's when it's soldered in. I skipped this. Soldered in and you're taken over like a puppet. It's tooth and claw survival. Got it. This is the sort of thing which made observers think that tooth and claw was a primary rule. Went the engram, bypassing rationality and the standard memory banks. Now it is in the organism, but the organism does not know it in the level of consciousness. It is keyed in by a conscious level experience, then it can be dramatized, and far from becoming milder, the more it is used, the more an engram is dramatized, the more solid is its hold in the circuits. Muscles, nerves, all must comply. That can be true of trauma. That's what he's talking about. Tooth and claw survival, the cells were making sure, the cells again, cells are the brain, and here we come to valence. Okay, he spells it. It was spelled VALENCE. Then now it's VALENS. So I'm going to say valens. Okay. Valens means powerful in Latin. Oh, that's why. I should have kept reading. It is a good term because it is the second half of ambivalent. Okay. Power in two directions and exists in any good dictionary. Oh, I heard about the Scientology dictionary the other day. It is a good I'm going to get one. I'm going to go on eBay. If I can find a Scientology dictionary, I would love to go through that. That would be interesting. It is a good term because it describes, although the dictionary did not mean it to, the intent of the organism when dramatizing an engram. Multivalence would mean many powerfuls. Is he making up words again? It would embrace the phenomena of split personality. Holy shit. The strange differences of personality in people in one and then another situation. Valence in Dianetics means the personality of one of the dramatic personnel in an engram. So now he's explaining split personality. He's an expert and he can fix it. Oh, really? Richie Valens. I know who that is. Sorry, my lips get dry. All right. So now he's explaining split personality. So engrams is the root of all evil. Got it. All right. In the case of the woman being knocked out and kicked, there were two valences present, herself and her husband. If another person had been present, the engram would have contained three valences, or three personalities, is what he means. Okay. Providing he took any part, herself, her husband, and the third person, in an engram, let us say, of a bus accident where 10 people speak or act, there would be in the unconscious person an engram containing 11 valences, the unconscious person and the 10 who spoke or acted. Okay. Now, in the case of the woman beaten by her husband, the engram contains just two valences, who won. Here is the law of tooth and claw. The aspect of survival in engrams, who won? The husband. Therefore, if It is the husband who will be dramatized. She didn't win, she got hurt. Aha! When these restimulators are present, the thing to do is to be the winner. The husband to talk like him, to say what he did, to do what he did. He survived, be like him, says the cells. That kind of, he may go into it, can explain why bullies were bullied by a parent or another bully, and they become the bully. So that's why they say a lot of bullies have been abused. Okay. So, I mean, it makes sense in psychology, just not the way he's putting it. Hence, when the woman is restimulated into this engram by some action, let us say on the part of her child, she dramatizes the winner balance. She knocks the child down and kicks him, tells him he is a faker, that he is no good, that he is always changing his mind. All the things that were, this was in an earlier thing. Those were all the things that happened when she was unconscious. Be yourself is advised, is it? Be yourself is advice which falls on deaf reactive mind ears. Here is the scheme. Every time the organism gets punished by life, the analytical mind, according to the reactive mind, has erred. The reactive mind then cuts the analytical mind out of the circuit in ratio to the amount of restimulation present or danger, and makes the body react as if it were the person who won in the earlier but similar situation where the organism was hurt. Now, what happens if society or the husband or some exterior force told this woman who is dramatizing this engram that she must face reality? That's impossible. Reality equals being herself, and herself gets hurt. What if some exterior force breaks the dramatization? That is to say, if society objects to the dramatization and refuses to let her kick and yell and shout, the engram is still soldered in. The reactive mind is forcing her to be the winning balance. Now she can't be. As punishment, the reactive mind, the closer she slides into being herself, approximates the conditions of the other balance in the engram. After all, that balance didn't die, and the pain of the blows turns on, and she thinks she is a faker, that she is no good, that she always changes her mind. In other words, she is in the losing balance. Consistent breaking of dramatization will make a person ill just as certainly as there are gloomy days. Yeah, trauma can make us ill. Mm. What cricket did I miss? Oh, yeah. Oh, we're almost done. A person accumulates with the engrams 100 balances before he is 10. Which were the winning balances? You will find him using them every time an engram is kicked into restimulation. Multiple personality, two persons, make it 50 to 100. In Dianetics, you can see balances turn on and off in people and change with a rapidity which would be awesome to a quick change artist. Observe these complexities of conduct, of behavior. If one set out to resolve the problem of aberration by a system of cataloging everything he observed and were unaware of the basic source, he would end up with as many separate insanities, neurosis, psychosis, compulsions, repressions, obsessions, and disabilities as there are combination of words in the English language. Ow, that hurt my head. Discovery of the fundamentals by classification is never good research. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Yes. What did you do to pull this in? Makes more sense now from his perspective. I mean, not really. Okay. Or worry. Okay. That was that one. Discovery of the fundamental by classification is never good research. Discovery of the I don't know. Obviously doesn't want people to do any research, but I didn't. And the unlimited complexities possible from the engrams and the severest, most thoroughly controlled experiments discovered these engrams to be capable of just such behavior as is listed here. Are engrams a real thing somewhere? Did he steal that? That's the one thing I don't know. Because he's saying that there were controlled experiments discovering engrams. I am, you know what? Before next Sunday, I'm going to look. I got to write that down because I never remember what I say. All right. I want to look up engrams in scientific research. Just to see if he stole that or made that completely up. Okay. All right. Was there anything Oh yeah. He is in one sense stealing the concept of muscle memory, in my opinion. Possibly. Possibly. All right. So, and the severest, most thoroughly controlled experiments discovered these engrams to be capable of just such behavior as is listed here are the whole catalog of aberrated human conduct. That's supposed to be in somebody's cells or reactive mind, all of aberrated human conduct. There are a few other basic fundamental things that engrams do. These will be covered under their own headings: parasite circuits, emotional impaction, and psychosomatic ills. Ooh, we get to get into that. With the few fundamentals listed here, the problem of aberration can be resolved. These fundamentals are simple. They have given rise to as much trouble as individuals and societies have experienced. The institutions for the insane, the prisons for the criminals, the armaments accumulated by nations, yes, and even the dust which was a civilization of yesterday exist because these fundamentals were not understood. The cells evolved in an organism, and in the evolution created what was once a necessary condition of mind. Man has grown up to a point where he creates now the means of overcoming that evolutionary blunder. Examination of the clear proves he no longer needs it. He is now in a position where he can take an artificial evolutionary step on his own. The bridge has been built across the canyon. Done. Oh, thank you. Engram. An engram is a unit of cognitive information imprinted in a physical substance. So it is real. Did you all right to take amphetamines? We have discussed that a lot while reading this book. Cricket. And yes. In World War II, amphetamines were used highly. Adolf gave them to his soldiers. I believe our soldiers, some of them used them because they were in Europe and it got cold and they had a lot of reasons. I think that may be where it may have started, but that's conjecture. We don't know that for total certainty. But the way he wrote profusely was ridiculous. Wow. Non-plural noun. Engramsa, hypothetical, permanent change in the brain, accounting for the existence of memory, a memory trace. Okay. He basically uses the concept of a person hurting their hand on a hot surface. So I can have to look up. There we go. on a hot surface, then the thought or similarity of that same situation, such as a sensation of heat, will bring the reflex memory. Well, yeah, we know that already. They used a mix of amphetamine and rohypnol. Turpentine was the name, I think, in Germany, or turpentin. Yeah, and rohypnol, we know doesn't that cause memory loss or memory blanks? I believe rohypnol was also used in the date R drug because you wouldn't remember what happened. I doubt he was doing that because he should remembered a lot. But yeah, also blanks the emotional response. Yeah, yeah, because things were crappy in World War II. It really was. I read a whole fictional. So I read this whole series around World War II with a family in Germany and a friend of theirs, and the people were fiction, but everything else was historical. So I learned a lot from that. About the propaganda that was used and what the actual people heard and knew. And anyway, off topic. I'm going to do, and this is something I've been wanting to do, is because we're getting so many new people all the time that don't have the time to do what I did, and that was a deep dive, like a year of somebody's videos to learn all the stuff about Scientology. So what I've been wanting to do is just do short, quick videos. Like my first one I want to do is I want to do mostly their crimes first, what that happened in when they infiltrated the FBI, what they did to get their tax exempt status back, and things like that. So I'm going to take that one section that we talked about, that really explained how he used engrams and trauma to mind control, and I'm going to just put that section on there because I think there's a lot of survivors that never read Scientology, that never read Dianetics, and didn't know. I mean, we know he was a jerk. We know he did mind control. We know he brainwashed, but he literally laid out how he did it. Oh, thanks, Scooter Mom. Yeah, and then I'm gonna do shorts. I'm gonna take that same story. I wanted to keep them under 10 minutes. Then I'm gonna take that same story and make it a short so that it'll get into new feeds, so they can get that little story about Scientology and something bad they did, and then maybe they can go find, because I do that with shorts all the time. I get this little part of a story and I go look up the whole thing. I want to know all of it. I just wanted to hold on. Our fighter pilots in the Pacific were given a lot of amphetamine to stay awake on long missions. Yeah. This is an important part. He said the quiet part out loud. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go back a little bit. I'm not sure about the exact mix, but seeing a lot of different kinds of them. Yeah. I think that's enough to know what they were on. Basically, we are dissecting and trying to back engineer the insidious methods to find keys to get those programs off. Couldn't said it better myself. That's I didn't know that's what I was doing, really, but I knew I wanted to read this. I knew I wanted to see what, because I can't read all the Scientology books. That's just impossible. But this one is the big one that was first. They had Dianetics centers first before Scientology that grew into Scientology, and a lot of people read this and got into Scientology years ago, and then forced their kids and their grandkids in, and that's where we are now. So yes, and what this tells me, we need to be not. Oh, sorry. Every time I want to, I've got to get before next week. I'm going to build this little platform, just 3 pieces of pine board that sits over the end of my chase and holds my computer so that the chase and the computer are not touching. That's why it's shaking. I'm on a cutting board, wooden cutting board, a box with holes in it for the computer fan and the laptop. So every time I move, it shakes, and I'm sorry. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do. That's exactly what I want to do. It started off curiosity, and now I think what we've figured out is he uses trauma and abuse against them. So the best way to get in their brain is to say something positive. If we yell abuses at them, if we yell curse words at them and tell them they're child traffickers in a mean way, I don't think they're going to listen. I don't think it will work. I mean, it might, some of it might, if they're saying specific things like you're a child trafficker, what I say is your leader did this. I'm going to start now. I know more. The LRH mind controls. I'm going to start being more specific about what I'm reading about. And I have started to I got more positive. I say hi to them. I try to say nice things, or then I just say the SPTB Foundation. I do, when I'm yelling at the crack door, I do the list of human trafficking signs, and I do say that the freeloader debt isn't real, but I yell like your leader drives a Bentley and you make $50 a week, things like that. But I don't yell. I try not to be abusive. We want to help you quit getting punished for bad stats and made up reasons. Yeah, I'm going to get more in depth and more specific like that. Now that and so reading this at first felt kind of silly. Was I really going to find anything out? And that chapter alone was worth it. And I wonder what more we're going to find out. He literally laid out the Sea Org and the whole social. I didn't go to college, so I can't think big words sometimes. But he laid out the whole program on how to get these people to stay, the mind control. We've gone over 2 hours. Wow, you guys. Thanks for sticking around. Also, all this mutual processing we all together did was important. Yeah, comments helped me too. Like, what disarm the bomb, we must know the wiring. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing when I decided to read it. I was just curious. It was talked about so much in the early days. It takes about 10 positive messages to counteract one negative message. Yep. And that's why us being out there constantly, first of all, they're going to ask themselves eventually, what is these people's motivation for being out there all the time and coming back and coming back and coming back? That has never happened to them before. Before, when there were protests, it was all coordinated and planned, and they showed up. A lot of people showed up, and then it was over. So they could say, oh, those people are just mean and evil, and then they were gone. But even that person that stopped me yesterday and wanted to interview me said, I've seen you here a lot. What makes you keep coming? And somebody said she was sus. I didn't care. The only thing that I cared about is she made me sit in the sun too long. And I finally said, dude, I got to back up. I got sunburned. But if she was a plant, if she was a Scientologist, I hope she listened to everything I said. Everything I said was everything I always say when people stop and ask me questions. So even if she was sus, even if she was maybe a Scientologist trying to get information out of me. Didn't work. Didn't get anything more than I say on here. We can also ask them things like, why are the leaders never satisfied with your efforts? Yes, I'm going to start doing that. I heard somebody was mentioning that. And see, I remember details. I can remember what somebody said, but I couldn't tell you what live stream I saw it on. That's the problem with me. I can remember like where my pen went. I can't remember. Hello. Okay, where's my pen? It's not a very big area for it to go. Whatever. I got a ballpoint. I just ate ballpoints. Why are your leaders never satisfied? But I heard. I think it was Aaron. He was talking about the stats, and he was bringing up. I'm going to start bringing up their stats, their real numbers. I'm going to go back to his live and I'm going to write them down. And he even reduced it. If there was 1 million Scientologists in the world, that means you have 2,000, so many thousand Scientologists per org. And I want to say things to them to the effect of, it's not just your org that's low stats. It's everywhere. Go on the internet. Go find all these other people that are filming other orgs and they're dead. And I've never done that before, and I'm going to start doing it. Why? I got into a rut for a while saying the same stuff. And I wondered where I could go and sustain what I'm doing. And this is it. This is the change that I needed. Never. You know what I might do? I might do a short live with y'all one day where you guys can just give me suggestions. With your efforts. Every org is virtually empty. Yeah, what better way to understand your enemy? I don't consider them truly our enemy. David Miscavige's and LRH was, yes. It did make me understand him 100% better. Whoa. I'm full. I'm psyched. I'm psyched right now because of what we read. And it's awesome. I'm definitely going to do a video about it. I might do it right after this. I don't think I can wait. Oh, that's awesome, Golden Era. I do the same thing all the time. So a lot of times I'm not in chat, but I'm listening. Yeah. But LRH and David Miscavige's. And anybody that works with them and knows what's really going on. Why do you need to pay rent when you have to pay for rent? That was one I just heard about that, and I was dumbfounded that goes on. That they raised millions to buy the building. They raised millions to refurbish the building. They all, okay, maybe Sea Org people don't know how it all really works. Maybe some staff don't even, but some of them do. Some of them know that building was paid off. Opponent. That's a good one too. Why pay rent on paid off buildings? It's a good one. Wish I had a good. Oh, my good pen's in the book. That's where it went. Ugh. Okay. I was marking the book with it. That's better. All right. I got that. Hey, Tom. Oh, my gosh. You have to watch this, or I'll just come read it to you. Oh. He's in the bedroom with the big dog. It was amazing. That's why we went 2 hours. I couldn't stop. I couldn't split it up. It was awesome what we just learned. It was amazing. Not that he was amazing, just the light bulb that went off in my brain is amazing. So I'm just Okay, I think I'm good. I'm done now. If you guys have any suggestions, I look at every comment because in analytics, I don't have to look at each video. In case you don't know, I didn't know this stuff till I was a YouTuber. I can go in YouTube Studio and it'll show me all new comments, no matter what video it's on. So if you have any good ideas on something for me to say, I need all the help I can get. Sometimes I'm great at crafts and that kind of imagination, but when it comes to what to say and words, I just sometimes don't come up with good stuff. So if you guys can think of anything good to say while I'm there, please put it in the comments. I'll take anything. Yeah, we gotta have brainstorms. We gotta have some brainstorms later. Definitely, we will. Maybe I like doing the late night Saturday night stream. I'm gonna keep doing that. 10 o'clock on Saturday night. If you can stay up that late, I know DJ, that's probably middle of the night for you or morning. I'm also gonna do a member stream during the day this week. We'll do that then too. We'll do a little bit of brainstorming because I love to get input from other people because everybody thinks differently and comes up with different things. Great. This is a great team. I mean, think about all the thousands of people that watch the 200 channels out there and all the different people. And, it's amazing sometimes when you think about it like that. So I'm going to end it here. I could keep going. I'm so awake right now, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break and I'm going to make that short video about that. Because I even want people like Aaron and Nora and anybody that hasn't read this book before to hear this. I don't know. There may be something just like it in Scientology that they have heard, but just the way that we heard it as Never Ends and saw through what he was writing, that he was really writing his own instruction booklet on how to control people and create a cult was awesome. All right. I can always catch replay and send you comments. Yes, you can. Yep, you're not shy. In case anyone had doubted. It's like me. I was scared to death of YouTube. Never thought I'd be on YouTube. I'm like, I'm a talker and I like to teach. I like to give information. When I find something that works for me, even if it's like organization in the kitchen, I just want to tell people. Like when I found out gluten helped me, I want to tell the whole world when I find out something good. So this ended up being wonderful for me. So thanks for being here, Scooter Mom, because you were up late with me too. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling 2 days back to back in Austin, then a late night live stream and a live stream today. So I could hear thunder. We're starting to get the storms from the hurricane from the coast. I'm like, it said I was 400 something miles from the coast, but we're still going to get storms from it. So it's supposed to be really stormy on Monday, tomorrow. So I don't know when I'm going to be back in Austin because of the storm. So we'll have to see. Oh, hell knows, my mentor. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's coming up with a lot of good things too. Last night she came in. We had her come in towards the end of this. We were getting off. It was 2 hours, and we went another hour. So she's got a lot of good ideas too. Bob, I'm emailing you some. Thank you. I will take it. Cricket, great job. Thanks everyone. Yep. Thank you, Scooter Mom. I will see you all next live stream. Bye.